Lizards have this remarkable ability to regrow entire limbs. Starfish have the ability to regrow entire bodies, and bowhead whales can live to well over 200 years old. So might how we, in the very near future, translate some of these near superpowers into humans? So it's definitely no secret that I'm absolutely fascinated by technology which augments or improves quality of life. And in my previous videos, I've often described these technologies through three distinct categories, and they include things like ingestible, implantable, and wearable technologies. But the reality is that these technologies actually only represent one part of something much, much more exciting. Now, my name is Aaron Sherwood, and in this episode of Aaron's Tech Talks, I'm going to be talking about human-machine augmentation and how this isn't about 10 to 20 or even 30 years in the future, it's already here. So here goes. So maybe I'm the very first person that you've ever heard of using the word human-machine augmentation. I mean, lots of people might, shrug their shoulders thinking this is something that's going to take place in many years to come. The reality is we already live in a world where augmentation is really, really prevalent. And, we live in a world today where we can make the blind see again, the deaf hear again, and the immobile mobile again. And really what we're already seeing is this mainstream explosion of innovation in this space, which is already touching all corners of industry. But whatever scary title you might have read in the media, from transhumanists to biohackers, neurohackers or otherwise, this community is already challenging the idea of what it means to be a human. And as man and machine begin to work closer and closer, now is definitely the right time to work aggressively to ensure that these technologies match both our values, expectations, and ethics. So I mentioned that this augmentation thing is already here. And I know that because if you read deeply into this, what you'll find is if you look over the likes of Gartner's 2020 10 strategic trends or Forbes 2020 predictions, what you'll quickly find is a recurring theme. And that's human-machine augmentation and enhancement will keep cropping up time and time again. And in fact, this is gaining momentum so quickly that even the World Economic Forum has featured this as part of their Strategic Intelligence Forum. And in fact, this is a market which is going to be worth around $207 billion by 2024. So what actually is this thing called human-machine augmentation? Well, broadly speaking, it's a term used to describe a number of approaches for improving or upgrading human capability. And that might be through means such as regenerative medicines, computer-brain interfaces, exoskeletons, bionic implants, and even prosthetics. And in a number of reports, augmentation is typically broken down into three areas. And that includes replication, supplementation, or augmentation that exceeds human capability. Now, in the replication category, this is anything which it's quite simple, it replicates a human capability. So, for example, providing someone with a prosthetic limb so they can walk again. It doesn't tend to, it doesn't extend or supplement a human's capability. But supplementation can be anything from an industrial-powered exoskeleton, which would provide a land combat soldier greater amounts of agility, strength, and ambulation. Neuralink is also a really good example of this, which is Elon Musk's computer-brain interface project, which is set to reinvent the way in which thoughts and memories enter our brain. Maybe we can even learn new languages without having to study for hours on end. But then there's the final category, which is exceeding human capability. And that could be anything from breathing underwater unaided or something like super longevity. But essentially this is providing capability which is well beyond the realms of our human limitations. So why should you even care? And what's the cost of doing nothing? Well, one government that's already decided that the opportunity cost of taking a do-nothing approach is too high is Japan. And like I mentioned in my exoskeleton video, Japan has a number of age-related problems, and if it doesn't act now, its aging population will quickly begin to spiral out of control. So what the government of Japan recently did is that they invested $1 billion specifically targeted at moonshot projects, and they were targeted at eliminating problems caused by an aging population. And that even covered means such as human hibernation. Now, you might be sat there thinking, well, why on earth would someone want to hibernate? Or maybe you would in COVID-19. But scientists, if they can trigger hibernation in humans, what that could potentially result in is delaying aging. And that in turn could be massively beneficial for things like interplanetary exploration or even treating life-threatening illnesses. And actually, on the topic of space, space exploration is actually a really interesting area for human augmentation because whilst humans have made enormous progress in exploring life beyond Earth, outer space actually remains well beyond that of human capabilities. So anyway, it really doesn't matter whether you identify as a body hacker, a biohacker, transhumanist or an amputee, or even if you're just like me, a technology analyst. Technologically advanced bodies and augmented experiences really are the future. And the reality is that the future is already here. So with that in mind, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Aaron's Tech Talks, and I really look forward to speaking to you in my next video. Have a great week. Thank you.